All right, here we go. All right, it's 6 o'clock. We're going to call the Josephine regular scheduled meeting at 6 p.m. Do you need a minute? Oh, my bad. All right, you ready to do roll call?
Yes. Jason Turney, absent. Doug Ewing,
Here.
Brad Allfinger, Alex Esquivel, absent. Dr. Pam Sardo. Here. Gary Chappell.
Here.
All right, if you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pam, do you mind doing the invocation?
Yeah, thank you. Heavenly Father, you teach us that salvation comes through faith in you. You are always close to us, and you desire us to know you and to have a relationship with you. God made the world and everything in it. Please be with the first responders and keep them safe every day. And please be with all the hurricane volunteers and victims in all the affected states, including the companies like Red Cross, Samaritan's Purse, Cajun Navy, Texans on Mission, and many others. And please be with my team as Texans on Mission deploy to Florida this week, and keep everyone safe and give everyone energy to provide help, hope, and healing to the victims as we prepare thousands of meals a day and remove water, mud, mold, and trees from houses. In your name we ask, amen.
Amen. You want me to read this whole thing? No? We have a proclamation for the City of Josephine proclamation for honoring Kirk Peters. Up 20 years of dedicated service for the City of Josephine. So we've got something for you. I'll say a few things real quick about Kirk. 20 years is a long time to be in one place, especially in today's time. We appreciate you very much. We see how much you've learned and how much you've grown and how much you've helped this city grow and do the things that you do. I myself have seen Kirk for probably majority of those 20 years. Not all those 20 years. Shortly after I graduated high school, Kirk came here. And I believe my mom was on the city council at the time, or close, maybe, something like that. So yeah, we've seen him do a lot of good things for our city, and we can all appreciate him. Everybody give him a hand. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, we've got Chief Graham. We're going to recognize some police officers.
If I can get y'all to come up real quick and maybe stand up in front of the podium there. Yeah. Mayor Pro Tem, council, and visitors, the three people in front of me today are pastors in the community. They help a lot of people in a lot of different ways, then don't get any recognition hardly ever for it. But they also help us at Josephine Police Department. And I wanted to recognize them tonight with some certificates that we appreciate what they do for the city of Josephine and for the community. The certificates, it says, in grateful recognition of your continuing service and support of Josephine Police Department during crisis events. Your passion for contributing has been a source of endless inspiration. Your support is greatly appreciated. And I just want to say thank you for everything y'all do for us when we call you at 4 o'clock in the morning and ask you to come out. And so thanks again. This is to Pastor Slade from the Josephine Baptist Church, Pastor David Brown from Faith Family in Nevada. And I got to say just a little bit more about this person right here. He knew this was probably coming. Me and Mike went to school together, and he didn't talk to me because I was about 4 grades younger, so they didn't talk to us or anything like that. But before he got married, he got into the ministry and everything. He was roommates with my brother when they first got out of high school. And we always had a lot of respect for the Powell family and for Mike, and he's really done great. We appreciate everything y'all do.
So we're going to you for citizen comments. Do we have a list of them? Or do you have them?
Mark Walker would like to speak about the sign ordinance.
Okay. How you doing, Mr. Wofford?
I'm Mark Wofford, live at 1105 East Street. We raise cattle around here, and I've got some signs down at the store. Two nice signs that we've had up for about 2 to 3 months now. And they're sending Ollie letters and threatening to fine him about $2,000 if he don't get the signs removed. They say, and I've seen the ordinance, it says no stick signs over 48 hours, I believe it is. I'm just going off memory, but anyway, my concern is there's signs all over town. There's a guy named Joe Turney has about 7 to 10 signs all over town, just same way. Had them out there for about 2 years. You got Christmas tree signs, people putting Christmas lights up, same thing, they're stick signs just like mine. And I don't think it's fair that, Ollie's getting picked on, or I'm getting picked on, and all these other signs they've never had a letter or anything, I don't believe. I'd like to see if they have. But that's my concern, and that's the reason I came up here tonight. I'd like to see what y'all can do about it.
I appreciate it. We'll definitely look into it. Thank you. That's it. Does anybody else, or should I add? Yes. Does anybody else want to speak or have anything to say of anything? All right, we'll move on. On the consent agenda, is there any discussion? A motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Motion carries 4-1, 4-0. All right, new business, receive an update, or is she here yet? Okay, looks like she's had some trouble with traffic. All right, we'll move on to item B. Receive a brief presentation from Atmos Representative Eva Hummel. Is that right?
Yes, I'm actually going to provide the history, and then Ms. Hummel is here if you have additional questions. So the current franchise agreement with Atmos, it was actually started with TXU Gas Company, established back in the year 2000. The ordinance granted TXU Gas the rights to furnish and supply natural gas to the city of Josephine. That term ends December 31st of this year. This ordinance also provided for a franchise fee of 3%, which was later increased to 5% by an amendment. With the upcoming expiration of the gas franchise agreement, the city has gotten with Atmos, and a new agreement is presented to you this evening. Just a quick overview of it. The franchise fee maintained at 5% of gross revenues. Atmos Energy is granted non-exclusive rights to use public right-of-way to deliver natural gas. Renews the franchise for 25 years, ending in 2049. And let's see, repeals the former resolution or former ordinance. So staff reviewed, Rob had reviewed, and we were comfortable with it. I did have some questions just prior to the meeting from Dr. Sardo, so she may want to ask her questions now, or I'll let her decide how she wants to do
Is
that.
the speaker here?
It's a franchise agreement.
Yeah, is the speaker here?
Would you come up to the mic, please?
Hi.
Good evening. I'm Eva Hummel with Atmos Energy and Public Affairs. I office out of 1310 Highway 66 in Garland, and I will do my best to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you for that. Personally, I see this as not an ordinance, but a contract. And therefore, contract is between two parties. And I see multiple issues that I would like some time to talk to council about that has to do with some of the phrases in here. And I know that you're a big entity and we're a little entity, but I would like some time to talk about some of the takebacks that are in here, some of the decrease from the percentage fees that you're going to give us. And I just would like to ask permission of the council to delay a decision until we can discuss further some of the components of this agreement, which I consider to be a contract and not an ordinance. I think there's a lot more to it.
Well, I mean, it is an ordinance, and it is a standard franchise agreement that we have with all of our cities.
I understand.
So we don't have contract agreements, but we have ordinances. Our franchise attorney would be more than happy to discuss any questions that you might have if you're wanting to postpone the approval of this.
Yeah, I think one month is going to be enough time, but I do feel like there's multiple paragraphs in here that are not, that could be optimal, and that's what I'm asking council for, just some time to delay the decision.
Do you have an example?
I have a ton of examples, so if you want me to say them. So first of all, who will be the authorized agent? That's number one. Atmos shall not be required to pay for street cutting or street excavation. There are multiple places where it says the percentage payment to the city will be reduced by different fees and also the things that they're not responsible for, and also affiliates and subsidiaries. Big companies, a lot of times subcontract, and so if there's a subcontractor, we don't get, that's when the money's cut off, according to an item on number 5 for gross revenue. And a lot of big companies, I'll just use AT&T, not you, use contractors, and I think that that's a detriment to the city. We have a lot of taxpayers here who would love to have gas, but I think there's some things that need to be discussed further. And also, it's a very quick turnaround. Within 30 days, you want the city limits and the de-annexation of the territories, which I really didn't want to get into here, because there are some questions about some border lines. So I have a lot of questions about some of the take-backs, and would like an opportunity to discuss it with the rest of council if it pleases the council.
So one question, as far as you were talking about the street cutting. So I would assume, I mean, because I'm only getting what I didn't even see that part, but I'm only getting part of it. I'm assuming that you're taking that they're not responsible for you cutting a gas line when we cut a street or someone goes in and does street work. How can we be responsible? It's the person's responsibility that is doing the street work to locate the utilities. So is that what you're
No, I
getting
think-
at? Or you're saying that if they go in and do street cutting to manage a line, I would not see that they would not be responsible for fixing the street.
Plus,
I don't know how they could not be.
their right-of-way supersedes anybody else's right-of-way. So they're the top of the spear, the tip of the pinnacle. And I just think that there's multiple areas in here which
Yeah,
I would
that's
like the
probably-
opportunity to discuss with council.
That being most likely is because they're an explosive gas.
Okay.
I mean, I've been around other cities and know how utilities work because I worked for a utility company. So,
So it's up to the council, whatever your decision is, but I do feel
I mean,
like,
there's other things I heard that you said, but those are small things that I was pointing
I
out.
think that a 30-day pause while I have a discussion with all of you is not burdensome, because they're talking about 2025 anyway. And there's questions that I don't have the answer to. Who's the authorized agent? What happens with intentional acts? What happens about the pullback of the money that we're supposed to get? So there's multiple cases I just wanted to be more informed about and share. And also governmental customers. We are a governmental customer. The city council is a governmental customer. So does that mean, so the gross revenue shall not include? If they give us gas, we won't get revenue from that? So do you I mean, I'm just saying some of the concerns.
I might make a suggestion that if it doesn't bother Atmos too much, if you would like to give us your markups of your questions, just send it to me so that we don't have any Open Meetings Act issues.
That's why I wanted executive
Well,
session.
Well, if you prefer, ask Rob.
Well,
and
Rob
council.
said open forum is fine, so here we
Okay, I was
are.
just thinking that would give us a chance to probably
Yeah.
answer most of your questions, and then we could have a discussion at the next meeting on anything remaining.
I certainly defer to the vote of the council, but I believe that the interest of the city should be considered.
As a city attorney, is what Rob, have you reviewed it?
I have, but it's been a while, and I don't know what the exact, it's a pretty standard, for Atmos, it's a standard,
Franchise?
franchise agreement. It is an agreement, it has to be passed by ordinance, but it is in the nature of an agreement. You're granting a franchise for them to use the public right-of-way, streets, and so forth in the city for their business. But they're still subject to management of the right-of-way by the city, including covering that. And they use subcontractors to make these cuts, and sometimes they don't come back real quick. So sometimes we have to kind of lean on, at most, to lean on their sub to come and pick up the dirt and pick up the back.
We do have a right-of-way ordinance that, people are expected to fill out information, and they give it to Public Works Department, and then Kirk and now Garrett kind of keep an eye on those contractors, and so there is kind of a process in place to kind of oversee what happens in our right-of-way.
Their right to use the streets and rights of way is subject to regulation and supervision by the Public Works Department. County traffic, other users, there's so many franchise users of the water system, and gas, and electric system, drainage, everything that you do, sewer, water.
I mean, I can tell you now, I would definitely want to have gas. I don't have it in my neighborhood, but, well, I mean, I can tell you whenever we had those very cold days where it froze over and we lost power, I had no warmth. So
And
it's definitely
I will
an
apologize
important
too.
process, so.
I will apologize too, because Eva provided this to me 2 or 3 months ago, and I kept putting it on the back burner because we've been so busy with other issues. And I thought it was actually going to be very straightforward, so I kind of waited to the last minute. So probably should have put this in front of you, given you a month to look at it and then get questions back to me, so I apologize for that.
Well, I'm okay with, if that's what y'all want to do, let her ask her questions and get it clear. And then if she doesn't get what she's answered, then put it on the agenda for the next month.
Will that work for you?
I mean, we're happy to, again, I'll just reiterate it as a standard agreement, but I understand if you have questions, and if you would just send the questions to Lisa, and I'm sure she will get those to us, and our franchise attorney will have some responses, for you. And then you can review it and make that decision.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, but it is, I will say, this agreement is to, it's for the betterment of both parties, for the city and for Atmos Energy. We want to provide you quality service, and this franchise, and the franchise agreement too. Just as she said, it maintains a 5% gross fee, and that is a standard fee that our cities, the highest fee that our cities are receiving right now from Atmos Energy.
All right.
And it just defines relocations and everything, so.
Yes, but the unfortunate thing is, I'll give it to Lisa, Lisa will give it to the attorney, and you guys won't know. So it's up to the council
Well,
how
I
you want
mean,
to proceed.
as long as, I mean, as long as your questions are answered, and then if you feel comfortable with your questions being answered, if you get them answered the way you want, I'm okay with that, because I trust that you do a very good job researching and asking the questions.
Thank you.
The second thing is if you don't have something that you don't like, and we put it on the next agenda for next month, and we can talk about it, that's what I want. That's what I'm proposing. I'm not saying that we don't get to talk about it as a group.
I appreciate
That's why
that.
I'm saying that.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So we'll move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hummel. We appreciate you.
Do you have a motion to postpone to the next meeting? Can we get a motion to
Yeah.
postpone?
Will you have a motion?
I
Motion.
Go ahead.
Motion to postpone item.
Second.
All in favor? 4-0. All right, looks like we'll move to, we've got, Ms. Hudgens is here, so we'll move back to item A.
Hi. Good evening. Thank you for giving us the chance to present the latest report to you. Probably have it printed. So right now, we did work on the dates. Last time we were a little on the red side on the dates and the schedule and the budget. So they're now shifted to average. We still have a little bit of slippage. It's 2 weeks for the main building and 4 weeks for the community center, but we all have it figured out. So that was good. That was a good goal. I'm gonna go through the summary of work since we have other issues real quick. So for the public safety, we have 95% of the airwork almost done. And as everybody has been driving by there, can see there's a lot of movement, a lot of workers in there doing what they're supposed to do. We have now poured concrete and steel in place as well, which is pretty good. We're tracking on that. For the community center, if you have had the chance to drive by, there's also windows installed, which was a big item. So we're able to enclose the building, kind of feel more secure regards to material and working inside the building. So that was really good too. Also, that was done for the annex. So new windows in there, concrete was poured in there as well. All the plumbing, it's also done at the annex building. I'm gonna go, since the achieved on this period is basically the percentages that I went over. I'm gonna go to the next period, what we anticipate. So for the public safety building, we shall have all the utilities completed, and that's for them to be able to close all that ditches that are still open. The slab and the grade, they should be completed too. Since they're pouring, I don't think that's gonna be any issue. So the precast wall area, that's gonna be a big change. So the precast wall erection means that they're gonna bring the walls that are precast on the contractor's site, and you're gonna start seeing a vertical construction. So that's really good. For the community center, we should start the drywall. Like I said, we should be able to start all that without problems. The paving and the sidewall, which they were a little, I don't know if you remember, I mentioned that last meeting. It was not possible to close that because there was still one ditch that needed to be figured out, but it should be on this next one. And windows and doors should be completed for the community center. And the annex, we should have all the interior and exterior paint done. The windows completed. Again, I don't see any issues there. They're almost completed, and we were expecting this for the next period. Electrical and plumbing also completed. So for the budget, we had one approved change order, which is the annex building, and we are anticipating one more coming. And once we have all that information that we need to propose that change order, we're going to provide that to you on the next one. The quality of the construction right now, it's good. We only had one non-passing for the community center, but it should be resolved this week, as we've been in communication with the contractor and the team that was taking care of that.
Which issue was that?
It was the fire sprinkler system. It needs to pass one inspection with certain amount of pressure on their valves. Mm-hmm. So it needed to be adjusted. The pressure needed to be adjusted in order to pass. So that's what.
Could I ask a question about that? Are you working with the county, because we have a interlocal agreement with the county for fire inspection and fire plan review? And I think that just expired, but is the county doing their piece, because we have to pay them to help us inspect? So can you please help me?
So the county provided us notice just recently that they're no longer going to be doing that service for us. So we have a third-party inspector. So this may originally have been approved by the county, but it has now been passed off to the third-party inspector, which is Atlas.
Okay, we'll look into that.
Which is who?
Atlas.
Okay.
Atlas Municipal.
Okay, so we haven't, so that's where the gap is. That's how this got slipped, is because nobody on our side is working for the prevention of this kind of nonconformity, right?
No, ma'am. It was just basically, I'm going to say is when some of the construction work is done, it needs to be adjusted to pass, whether it is plumbing or, in this case, because of the pressure. So we don't like to call it non-conforming because it's not done yet. So I guess that's the way to say it, right? It's just that we need to inform you guys that what's going on, but it should not be a problem. The people that are working on there, that's what they do. So they should be able to adjust that. And now that you brought that up to our attention, we'll look more into it. But that's not related to the pressure. Okay,
thank you.
No problem.
And also, you said there's one pending change order. Which part is the change order?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have a bullet point list, which is gonna state more clear on our next presentation, what is exactly that we're gonna propose changing. We're in discussion still to see what's worth, what's not. On our last page, you can see the photos of the site progress for all of those 3 buildings. And if you don't have any more questions, we are. We're done. You're welcome.
Just to add something on the change orders, for a project the size of the DPS building, it's almost impossible to do a project without a few change orders along the way. They're just things that we kind of get there, and we just maybe second guess, would it have been better to do this or something else? So we'll work those out and bring them to you. All of those would have to go through your approval anyway if it's not budgeted.
We will move on to item C, receive the monthly engineering report from Dunaway DBI, followed by discussion considering an action to accept the report.
Yes, good evening, Council. So I provided Lisa an updated report. I think it was the week before last almost, because we were out at TML, and so this is dated October 4th. So there's been a handful of movement on a couple of the subdivisions out there, Riverfield, Waverly, and then I think that's it for subdivisions. Moving forward with engineering design review on Morgan Farms, which is still accurate. And then as far as engineering design for projects goes, we had a pre-construction meeting for the Magnolia Wastewater Treatment Plant Phase 2 last week. And so they are beginning ordering and shipment of items, and just based on their crew and scheduling, they would expect boots on the ground early next year, probably February timeframe is what they were talking about. And then the North Wastewater Treatment Plant's actually agenda item. We had the discharge permit, went to the TCQ Commissioners Court meeting last Friday, and it was ultimately decided to go forward with the contested case hearing. And so we'll kind of talk about that with the bids a little bit, give you guys some more detail with that one. And then the other items are just kind of moving forward, various construction of the water storage improvements and pumping, and then also with our design and review process with North Texas Water for your take point at their 24-inch transmission line. Any questions?
I do have one question about the ditch grading and the construction halted on Greenville, because we also have an interlocal with the county on that, and that's between the city and the county that was signed August of 23 with the Commissioners Court. So how does that, is that a private discussion, how that ties back into the school district, or we have to hold off on moving forward with that?
No. The whole thing on that is we need a drainage easement, and there are several properties over there that have changed hands. We could have done it in about 3 different places. Kimley Horn has worked on this with us. As those properties have changed places, we've had trouble getting a homeowner to commit to a drainage easement. We think we've got one lined up now, but he's just recently acquired a property. So we're still working with them to work out the easement, and as soon as that is worked out, then Kimley Horn can finalize the plans. Did I miss anything, Elizabeth, on that one?
No, that's it. It's, the plans are almost done, but due to the drainage,
It's just the last hangout.
we need to wait until we have the easement.
So with the interlocal between the Commissioners Court and the city, that was in writing that we would finish in September of 24. So do you have to turn in something to the county?
This is actually the ARPA-funded project. So we're talking about
It's
2
different.
different projects here, yes,
Okay.
ma'am. So
My
you use
mistake,
some
I'm sorry.
ARPA money to do ditch grading on Byron, Maple, Yates, and then some on Milton. There's a separate project Elizabeth and her team are working on that you're referring to. This one actually predated that a little bit, and we halted the construction because the school was putting the sewer line down that area, had to repair the roadway, and so it didn't make sense for our contractor to grade the ditch just for them to tear it up again.
Okay.
So
All right, my
that's,
mistake.
yeah, it's 2 separate projects, but you're correct.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
So I guess, thank you, sorry, Doug. So my question to you, I guess, Doug, is do we accept the report as a report, but then delay the bid discussion till later? I don't know how this works.
We have a bid item, we have a line item, which is the next line item under new business, and so you shouldn't worry about delaying acceptance of the report, because I'm just saying this is an agenda item on my report, so it shouldn't be a conflicting action.
As far as the award of bid, we would ask that you wait till after executive session, so maybe table that part of item D. And we just need to share some information with you about the hearing, and then you can come back and decide on that item if you would.
So should we move item D down then?
I would suggest you table it
Okay.
until later in the meeting.
All right. Do we need a motion on that one?
Yeah, we need a motion on
All right,
C.
do we have a motion on C?
Yeah, make a motion to approve the Dunaway engineering report.
I'll second.
All in favor? Motion carries 4-0. All right, item D. We need a motion to table it.
So Lisa, would we just skip this line item until we recess into executive session? Because I'm afraid tabling it would table the bid.
Yeah, I think we just need to postpone until.
Yeah, we'll just move on to the next
slide
line
it down
item.
to after
that's fine.
the executive session. Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I was asking. Okay. All right, so we'll move to item E. Receive the monthly engineering report from Kimley Horn and Associates.
Good evening. We can talk about Greenville more in depth if you want. I'm just going to run through a few other items too, just to give you an update. The water, wastewater, roadway impact fee study, we are still on hold, but we're working with the city and some internal partners to kind of discuss some aspects of the master plan CIP lists that we want to update. For the booster station, we have Collin County approval, but we are still waiting on TCEQ approval. So that should be coming at the end of the month is what we are looking at. And then hopefully after that, we will send it to North Texas and they'll have to review again. And so we'll see what happens with that. But after that, we should be able to send it out to bid and get construction going. I'll skip Greenville right now, come back to it. For the Unified Development Code, we're kind of slowing this process down just to make sure that we're including everything that the city would like to include. We're reviewing other ordinances from other cities, but we just want to make sure that you guys have time to provide your input and that the focus groups have time to really dive into what we're preparing.
Could I ask about that? Could we get the previous notes and the minutes for the groups that have met so far since May?
I've provided you with everything we have. We've had very few meetings on it, but I provided you everything that we had.
No, I have not received anything. Maybe there's a gap in the email, but I have not received any documents.
I'll re-forward it to you.
If I've missed it, I'm sorry. Because is there an opportunity to move up the survey so it's more readily visible to citizens? Because I imagine there's not a lot of feedback. Also, Lubbock had 800 changes to theirs, and this is going to impact every single resident. And so my question would be, for us to see what's going on, because it's going to impact every single resident, and even possibly tell us what kind of trees and grass we can plant according to other UDD codes. I think we need some public interface here. We need the citizens to be aware of this.
That's all built into the project. There's a lot of public engagement. We're just not that far along with it. We've got so many other projects on the table. It's just slow.
Okay, thank you.
For Caddo Street rehab, we just had the contractor confirm that they'll be starting construction later this week. It should only be a 2-week max project, so that'll be completed pretty quickly. And then Milton Street Sanitary Sewer, we received the survey. We went and did a walk to make sure nothing was missed. We've had a few calls with the city with any existing utility questions that we've had, and so we are underway with design and hope to have that done pretty quickly. We're working with our master plan team right now just to make sure that we are we're trying to verify that what we're installing has capacity to serve the city. And so we're working with them to make sure that what we're putting in the ground is going to work in the long run instead of short term. But we expect to be done with the design pretty quickly. And then Greenville Avenue, we are on hold right now just because we need that drainage easement. It's shifting any which way can affect the way our drainage area maps and the storm sewer works. And so that's why we've been on hold for this long of a period.
But we do keep in contact with Collin County. They ask us periodically where we are in the project, so they're aware.
Okay, good, thank you. And could I ask, what's the status and action plan for IPO 25 Parks and Trails Master Plan? Where is that?
We've submitted that as part of a grant application, so we're waiting to hear back. We did put money in the budget to fund it entirely if we don't get it.
Okay.
So we're waiting to see if we get any funding for that.
Okay, thanks.
Just one question. The conceptual drainage improvements, I see that was sent to the city. Conceptual drainage improvements. It says that Kimberly Horn sent the stuff over to you guys for the final drawings. Is that going to be shared with us?
Eventually, remind me where we are on that. I think we have a little bit more work to do.
Yeah, the conceptual drainage plan, I believe, is complete, but it was a stormwater utility fee, so those kind of work together. And so we're working on the billable parcels, coming up with a monthly bill appetite so that we can bring it to you guys and discuss what kind of billing rate you would like to charge the citizens. And so we're working through that. It kind of takes a lot of time to go through and look at all of the parcels. We have to look at impervious versus pervious area and look at the different zoning classifications of the city. And so they're working through that right now. I think they should have something for towards the end of the year where we can come and talk about it, though.
We just decided it made more sense to bring it to you kind of as a package so you could see the areas that were studied, the suggested improvements, and then, you know, the reality of cost long-term if we were to fund whatever you wanted to fund, the options.
And this is for drainage, right? On follow-up, okay.
Yes, we looked at 4 different areas in the city.
Yeah, so I was just curious to see what the results of that were. I understand there's funding that's behind it, but I would like to see the map that you guys came up with.
We can still put it on the agenda and just provide it to you informational, just, you know, just so you can have it and start looking at it if you'd like. We just don't have the second part to go with it yet.
Okay, appreciate that.
Any discussion? You have a motion?
I guess my last question is the on-call engineering. Because is that farther down or is that this one? Because I know it's right at the 50,000 mark, which is below having to bid for it. But is there ever an intention to see where this is needed? Because it seemed like there weren't any emergent issues where an on-call engineering would be required.
So I'll answer a little bit of it. So on-call engineering is anything that's not project specific. So questions that staff asked or any general engineering type of thing. So you see all these IPOs because they're project specific. This is just general engineering. You know, Kirk and I have a question or we're coordinating on something and we need some engineering advice.
So will it automatically be the 50 or will it be up to 50?
Up to 50, and that's budgeted for.
That's a separate item.
Okay.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the Kimberly Horn engineering report.
I'll second. All in favor? 4-0.
Elizabeth, if I missed anything on the on-call, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, the on-call, it's all of our general, like she was saying, if they have questions, but it also includes, not all of our plan reviews come with separate IPOs, so all of the plan reviews that don't have those are included under that task. We start a new job number, and eventually that does get passed through to the developer, but we start it under that IPO, And then in the future, once the GIS online portal is set up, all of the work that we do will be billed to the on-call service. So all of the zoning maps and annexation maps, any roadway maps we might prepare, subdivision maps. Just as the city gets larger, if you're applying for different grants, sometimes they require maps. So it's a lot more work than you would expect that we actually do under the general engineering.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item F. Discuss, consider, and act to approve and amend to individual product order IPO 26 in the amount of $26,000 or $26,100 dated March 27th, 2024 between the City of Josephine, Kimley Horn and Associates for the Caddo Street Rehabilitation Project.
So I'll start and I'll let Elizabeth answer any questions. We previously approved the IPO for the Caddo Street Rehabilitation Project, but we had not awarded the bid at that time, so we didn't know exactly what the construction observation costs were going to be. So now that those have kind of been finalized, we did, I think, explain at that time that we would be coming back with that amendment. So I'll let Elizabeth take it from there.
Yes, so the original IPO was just for the design. Usually with construction observation, they want to know how much the construction is going to cost, what the timeline is going to be, and so that's why we've come back with this. Our team in our Las Colinas office, I think it is, will be coming out. They've booked it for 6 days because they're looking at a 2-week construction period, so 3 days a week. And then they'll provide 2 different reports, but it is a hourly task, so they're expecting up to 85 hours. So they may not use the total 85 hours, but that they're just giving that as a time frame.
So maybe I'm misunderstanding something. So at the last meeting, we approved over $100,000 for paving,
For the construction.
and now there's another 26 on top of that?
So you approved the construction contract, the award of the bid for the construction company. Elizabeth's office did the design work before that, and then this is for the construction observation inspection portion of it.
Okay.
Any discussion? Any other discussion? We have a motion?
I think Kirk might have something to add.
Oh, go ahead.
I have a comment on the funding. Part of that money is already been set aside from the 2 developers that have built down on Caddo. So it's not all,
Okay.
coming from this. We've received monies as part of their process.
Thank you.
Gotcha. All right, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve an amendment to IPO 26 in the amount of $26,100 for the Caddo Street Rehabilitation Project between the City of Josephine and Kimberly Horn Associates.
I'll second. All in favor? 4-0. Item G, discuss, consider, and act, approve individual product order IPO number 30 in the amount of $50,000 between the City of Josephine and Kimberly Horn and Associates for on-call engineering.
I can answer any additional questions. This is just kind of for our accounting side. We already have the original IPO, but they like it every once in a while for us to bring it back and get it refreshed. So it's the exact same thing as our original on-call engineering IPO, just with a new date.
It's also a new budget year for the city, start as of October 1. We did budget for that service.
Any discussion?
So just to confirm, this is 50,000, it's not up to 50,000?
It's up to 50 as needed.
It's up to?
Yes. Yeah, all of our on-call stuff will be billed at an hourly rate, so it won't be a lump sum. So all of our invoices will come with our sale notes, and you'll be able to see exactly what we are working on.
If we can put that in the motion if they want to, right? If she wants to put up to, it would be
I
fine.
think that's the way
It's read.
it's read in the IPO as well as up to 50. We bring you back something additional if it went over.
Any discussion? We good? On a motion?
Motion to approve the IPO number 30 up to the amount of $50,000 between the City of Josephine and Kimberly Horn Associates for routine and on-call engineering services.
Have a second? I'll second. All in favor? 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Discuss, item H, discuss, consider, and act to adopt resolution number 2024-10-15, amending resolution number 2024-03-11 for Texas Home Investment Partnership Program.
I'm going to let Patty answer any questions you have about that one. She's been involved with this project for several years, so she knows much more about it than I do.
So this is our grant home stuff. Yep.
When the resolution was approved in March of this year, between then and once the application was submitted to TDHCA, our population increased. So we have to amend or adopt this for the 3% the project cost. It can be permit, water meter, it doesn't have to be in cash.
Okay.
It's just an update because of our population increase.
That confuses me because I thought the houses, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, but my understanding was in March that the houses which were dilapidated, I guess is a general word, would be knocked down, new houses would be built, and that we had 16 of them. And I thought we were going to do 6 or 7 at a time.
We have to have, the property owner has to apply, and when
Right.
money becomes available, that's when people apply. So it's basically, we're in the reservation program so that when money becomes available, they start the application process.
So how many people have filled out an application? Because
It's not the application time right now. One house was just finished
Okay.
and given to the resident or the property owner. It's not time for applications yet. We have to get in it and agree to what the match will be. And at the time this was adopted, it said 0.
correct.
The population has gone up.
I don't understand the link between.
And because the city of Josephine has a population now showing of 3,497, the match obligation is 3%. Please update this with the new resolution.
I see. So it's a sliding scale to the city of how much affordability. Okay, got that.
Yes.
Thank you. I didn't understand that. So my concern was, do we anticipate, how many, in your estimate, because of past experience, how many houses do you anticipate are going to be done at a time per wave of
Can't.
application?
There's no way to, because since 2006, that first application, we got 9.
Okay,
Then a few years later, it was 3 more. It depends on who applies.
okay. Because I just wanted to raise awareness that if the house is valued at $250,000 when rebuilt, 3% is $7,500 per home, which could add up to $120,000.
It'll be about, according to GrantWorks and TDHCA, it'll be about $4,500 based on this, but we can not charge for a building permit, put the water meter, the new sewer tap in as match. We don't have to pay actual cash.
Okay, that's helpful. I didn't realize that. I just thought it would be a bigger cost to the city than we originally thought.
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Regardless if it was, I'm still on board with it, just for the fact that I've been around and I've seen some of the houses.
Yeah,
Some of the ones that, I've been around for, I think, all of them. I've seen a bunch of people benefit from this project. So
well, yeah.
I'm glad as a city that we can actually do it. I mean, some cities don't or won't.
Yeah,
And
well,
it's a tedious process, and I commend Patty for all the years that she's been on top of this and the number of people that she's positively affected.
All right. Have any more discussion?
No, I'm just going to vote against it, though, because
I'll
we...
make a motion to adopt resolution number 2024-10-15, amending resolution number 2024-3-11 for the Texas Home Investment Partnership Program.
I'll second.
All in favor? All opposed? 3-1, motion carries. We'll move to item I, discuss, consider, and act to approve the covered application and prohibited technology policy as required by state law.
So this is actually a state law that prohibits the use of TikTok on any city-owned device. Those of us who have cell phones or computers or anything issued by the city, we already had a policy in place, but we have to formalize that policy now by law. So that's what this is.
Is it just TikTok or all social media?
It's just TikTok, right?
It's just TikTok. If you look in your packet, there is a, I don't have to pull it in front of me, there's a list of specific apps and developers that are not allowed.
Okay.
And I have a list on there that every employee and council member will have to sign as well for the policy. And that for the Senate bill.
And that's on city devices?
City devices, yes.
Yes, and I actually think we have them blocked now, don't we? Didn't we have IT pretty much block those anyway? So, but we still have to formalize a policy.
You have one? He has one of these, right? I don't think so. Okay. Shut it down.
Yeah.
All right, do we have any discussion?
Just to clarify,
Hardware and software.
okay, it's city devices. It specifically says city devices. So even though I do city email on this, it doesn't matter what I have on it, or does it?
Only applies to city-owned equipment.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's not the way that I was kind of interpreting it either. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm struggling with it, right? Because I do city email on my personal devices, and I think that actually crosses over. So it does, correct?
It does.
Unless you all want to get everyone phones, I don't see a way around it because the state is mandating it.
Yeah, it's a
Well,
state
that's
mandate.
where my concern is, right? I mean, I'm in the IT business. This is what I do, so I understand the security. I understand exactly why. That's why the wording to me is critical on this one.
So, I brought this up to Jason, and I don't know how far it's gone into discussion, but I'm not a fan of these. I would rather have a regular laptop. Jason's talked to me about it, but other than that, I mean, if that's the case, then we make sure that nobody has their city email on their personal phone, and then once we get our own laptops, then we can talk about that, which I'm fine with. But I don't know that that's not even in the budget. It's not something that
I
we've
don't think we
even brought up.
budgeted for laptops.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not saying that, don't give me, we can make it happen later. We don't have to make it happen right now, but we can make it happen later. But my point is that, you know, we can make sure that nobody has their city email on their personal devices if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to be that way, right?
Well, then how are we gonna check our email? Come up here once a month and check it while we're here?
Utilize the tablet will sit your face.
Yeah, but
Okay.
we've never
But-
even been told to take
okay,
it home,
so you're not
to be honest
saying-
with you.
You're not saying that we can't use, I don't get here, if we don't have a city device,
Well, the thing is if you do city business is the way it's written. Not city device, it's city business.
on a computer at home.
Yes.
You can't have TikTok.
Correct. Or there's like 9 or 10 applications. Yeah. Yeah, so it's Alipay, ByteDance Limited, CamScan, QQ Wallet, ShareIt, WeChat, yeah. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of stuff, right? Yeah.
We can work on pricing devices, other devices for you, so you have something that's solely city issued for city business.
But the tablets are a great option.
I mean, I'm not a fan of the tablet for one, because I can't type on it. I have fat fingers and big hands. Maybe not big hands, but I can't type on it. But I have a problem typing on it. I hate the way that the mouse and all that kind of stuff works and whatever. I would rather have a regular laptop. That's just my personal preference. That's what I've expressed to Jason. So that's something to be discussed. Whether we have to do that ASAP, I don't know. But
Melissa, when was the deadline for this? November 30th?
Yeah, because right now, I mean, for my work, I have a separate work phone and I have a separate work laptop. So I don't cross computer or my work profile onto my personal stuff. I can't do it.
And I do the
And this
same.
is kind of the same thing. Yeah, that's exactly,
same.
yeah.
I mean, I've had them in the past too with my jobs too, so I understand that too. But I mean, I totally understand the situation. I mean, but what do we do? What do we do in the meantime?
So,
Because we can't check email if that's the case.
so you haven't approved the policy. You've got till the end of November. If you'd like, Melissa and I can price devices and see what we can.
Talk to Jason, because I think he
Cell
had
phones or
mentioned something
laptops
about
or
something about there's certain places we can buy them and get them cheaper, or used, or whatever, maybe, or whatever. Yeah. Whatever.
Well, we can
Through
look
a-
into that and we can bring it back to you next month. But next month it will be critical so we can meet that state law deadline. So.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I'm
See what we
pretty
can
sure
get
Jason
to you.
would say the same thing. I don't think he would have. I don't think he would say anything different. I mean, other than he would say, okay, well, I'll just put it on my work phone because he owns his own business, so he just doesn't have TikTok or whatever on his personal phone. But
Yeah.
like, I'm not going out to buy my own phone for the city. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. So he has 3 phones now. Probably, I don't know what he has.
He's concerned about it being.
I'm good with
greater
that.
because they have their city email.
So do
I
you,
just want to make sure we're compliant and that we don't do something that we're not supposed to do, so.
So Rob does have an opinion on some of it.
I think it says government-owned or leased devices. It doesn't say anything about privately owned devices of council members. But
I think, yeah,
It says the city may consider extending it to other devices used by employees. It doesn't say council member. If you want to make it applicable to council members, I think it'd be
Yeah.
all right. But
yeah.
that would mean you would not be able to transact city business.
Well,
on
the question
on a
is
device that had any of these applications.
So if something happens, hypothetically, if something happens and the city email, something happens with city email, and the police officers come in and seize our devices because it was done with city email on it, and there was an investigation, could they seize my personal phone? And I think the
Well, I
answer
think
is yes.
Any use of your personal phone for city business is already subject to the Open Records
Correct.
Act.
I mean,
Correct,
listen,
but if
you
they
can always
see-
ask Ms. Clinton.
That's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. So if they can seize that,
Well, if you have
and I've got an
something on
application
there,
on there
you
that the
can-
state doesn't authorize,
You'd be in violation of the policy.
correct. That's what I'm saying. It's gotta be separate devices.
Why don't you all use the ones you have up there? The other people yeah.
Well, the thing is how long have I been trying to get into mine?
I agree.
So,
I do agree.
yeah.
What's the problem? His password was good, but if it was something that I could get with Nolan temporarily until we can budget something, would that be something everyone would be willing to do for the time being, if it's as simple as getting better?
I mean, it's not something you have to carry. It's not something you have to carry with you all the
Right.
time. It's not like you have to carry another phone all of a sudden.
No.
I mean, you can leave it at home, check it when you get home from work or whatever, or, every few days. It's not like we get emails every day that we have to check. You know what I mean?
I only look for Lisa's emails right before the meeting.
I look about every other day or so. So, I mean,
that's acceptable to me.
that's
I'm
my
fine
personal
with
email
that.
too,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
by the way.
I just want to make sure we're compliant and we don't get ourselves into trouble, right?
Yeah.
That's, at the end of the day, I want to make sure we're compliant with the state law.
We have time to bring it back next month. And
Okay.
hopefully with some
Okay.
options to go with that if you'd like. If you want to
All right.
postpone.
All right, so we're
Then I
done with
make a
discussion.
motion.
Let's make a motion.
Yeah, I make a motion to table this until next month.
Do I have a second? All in favor? 4-0. All right. Move to item J, discuss, consider, and act to adopt resolution accepting a petition for the creation of the Morgan Farms Public Improvement District and calling for a public hearing pursuant to Chapter 372, Texas Local Government Code, and authorizing the city secretary to issue a notice of the public hearing to be held on November 12, 2024 at 6 p.m. at the City of Josephine City Hall.
So I'm going to let the applicant explain the item. You are not approving the PID tonight. You are accepting the petition and then just authorizing Patty to put the notice out there for next month. But I will let Bill Waite, who's here, and I will let him kind of explain things if you'd like, or answer any questions that you might have.
That's fine. I'm Robert Miklos, and Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. My address is 2500 Dallas Parkway, Suite 600, Plano, Texas 75063, and I'm here to answer any questions. But that's exactly right. It's just a petition tonight. If you so choose, you accept the petition, and then we schedule it for a public hearing as to whether or not you create it.
And just for a little history, the Morningside PID was created previously. This one was not. So
that would be right
this
next
used to be
it.
Morningside 2, was formerly known as Morningside 2.
That's exactly right.
So I just have a question. PIDs are supposed to fund supplemental services that would otherwise not be available. So what are you doing that's magnificent for the people who are going to be paying the fees?
So there's two answers. 372 of the local government code has public improvement districts funding public infrastructure, roads, streets, sewers, sidewalks, things that the public use. This one, public improvement district, and we have an attached probable cost sheet, shows that that's what the intention of this public improvement district is to fund. Those public improvements above and beyond, which would normally be done for just a run-of-the-mill subdivision and in compliance with the development agreement that this council approved. I think it was like a year and a half ago. So this is sort of the bookend to what you all decided you wanted, and that we're trying to now do that. As to the particulars, I try to stay away from the engineering. I'm not trying to be smart. I just, a certain type of pipe versus another, a certain width of street versus another, that's really more for the engineer civil engineer to answer those questions. But that's supplemental services is typically things like a patrol, like if we were funding an additional public safety patrol or something of that nature. That's usually what supplemental services is called. But this one is I hate to call it a straightforward facilities and infrastructure improvement district, but that's what it is.
So how many years will the residents have to pay?
Typically the assessments, and that's not done yet, and that's not decided as part of the creation, but you should anticipate 30 annual assessments, a static amount, and I think that's exactly what we did on the PID right next to it.
Okay, thank you.
It's been a minute since I've done one of these, but typically they differ from a MUD because a MUD can kind of go on indefinitely. They can keep reissuing that debt. This is a set amount. The person who's buying the property can choose to pay it off, or they can choose to escrow it out. So it's got a few differences there, and these folks are taxpayers versus the MUD residents who are outside our city limits or not. So typically services like just routine police, fire, that sort of thing would actually just be included in because they're a taxpayer. But you would approve yearly once this thing is kind of rocking and rolling down the road. You would approve, I forgot what they call it, is service and assessment plan yearly once it's up and going?
Yes, you would anticipate a preliminary service and assessment plan with a proposed assessment role to pay and the methodology for the assessments and the proposed assessments, and the preliminary service and assessment plan would have those details, like this type of lot, the proposed assessment would be X, Y, the methodology for how that calculation occurs, and then a listing of all of the improvements that are anticipated to be paid by those assessments over that period of time. And that's when, you don't know right now whether it's 30, but it's probably going to be 30, and that's what the preliminary service and assessment plan would have. It would say, and we anticipate doing this over 30 years. I've had some 25-year plans, but like 95% are 30-year assessments. That's been my experience. Is that?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. And in my experience, they've been a little bit, they're more transparent than the MUDs as far as what people are buying. They see what's going to be escrowed into their mortgage payment if they choose to escrow.
I've got one item. When we did the development agreement in Morningside, it was all Morningside Phase 1 and Phase 2. In Morningside, we basically addressed the sewer, the city sewer, a plant. And we advanced, when that development started, I don't know if it's been funded yet or not, but in the development agreement, it was to fund somewhere around $800,000 in advance. In other words, you get the money, city, and you go do your bids and all that kind of stuff, and that helped pay for the sewer plant. In this particular bid, there's 414 lots, and we're advancing $2.4 million to the city. Now that comes back over a permitting process of a number of years as the houses are being built. But it was a way to help the city. So I don't know if that's the correct type of terminology you were using, but it's something that helps the city and the citizenry by the city not having to worry about all of that. This is different from impact fees. This is advancing development dollars to help the infrastructure get going, above and beyond what the PID bonds will do.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
You have any more discussion?
Motion to approve the resolution accepting the petition for Morgan Farms Public Improvement District and calling for a public hearing and authorizing the city secretary to issue notice of the public hearing to be held on Tuesday, November 12th at 6 p.m. at the Josephine City Hall.
I'll second. All in favor? All opposed? 3-1. All right, we're going to convene the regular meeting 7:12 for Do I need to sign that too? Oh. All right. We will reconvene our regular scheduled meeting at 7:34. And we're going to immediately go to item D. Discuss, consider, and possible action to award of the bid for the North Wastewater Treatment Plant. Discussion?
Jacob, you want to go over the low bidder again?
Yes, I sure can. So we opened up bids for this project on August 29th, and there were 3 bids received. The lowest responsible bid was submitted by Horton Excavating from Polo, Texas, in the amount of $18.98 million, and they submitted a bid bond with the bid form. I've actually personally worked with Horton Excavating LLC on some wastewater plant upgrades for Liberty City, Texas, a number of years ago. Quite a bit smaller project, and so it's been a little bit. It's probably been 7-8 years since I worked with them. We went ahead and did our normal due diligence. We checked their references, checked their kind of financial security, and we believe that they do have the equipment experience and financial stability to complete this project. They've asked a couple times about anticipated award of this project, so they're pretty eager to go ahead and get started. They said they're wrapping up a couple things on their end, but if council decides to go ahead and award this project, we'll work with them to get a pre-construction meeting set up and try to issue a notice to proceed just as soon as we can, because this is a 700-day construction project, so we're interested in getting it moving just as quick as we can. Any questions about the bids received, the contractor, or anything else?
Any discussion?
My only question is there a way for us to find out how close wastewater treatment plants should be to each other or separate from each other? Because we've got at least, if my information's correct, at least 4 MUDs who want to put in their own wastewater treatment within a concentric circle of about 3 miles.
So they're required to notify entities that have existing facilities, those MUDs, and talk about, approach us, and when they put in their application, approach us about, are there regional plans, do you have anything that can service us, that sort of thing. I'm supposed to open that conversation, but to my knowledge, unless Jacob knows something otherwise, I don't think there are anything that says they can't be too close together.
Correct. You would have, if that instance, if they applied for a discharge permit for their own plant, you would have the ability to try to reject it, just like has been with you guys.
Yeah, but they're, again, back to TCEQ, they're going to approve it, so.
Well, cities and governmental entities typically have a little bit more power, especially with regional supply close than kind of individual parties that we've seen.
So that is one of the reasons why we wanted to do those expensive capital improvement plans, so that we could have those on the books and show that, hey, we prefer to have one bigger elevated water tank or one bigger wastewater treatment plant. And we kind of expect maybe the city and, a MUD or another private entity or whoever would be, would participate in a cost share, so that we don't have to have multiple plants, just for, one, it would save everybody money probably, and 2, it just would probably be better,
A cost share with who?
Whoever would need service. So
the individual MUD?
For instance, there are 2 MUDs that are just outside the city limits, to the east and south of Magnolia. If they got together and they did a cost share for one versus having 2 individual plans, to me that would make more sense.
So is there a way to get them, other MUDs, to do that, or to have an agreement with Caddo or the other MUDs that are across the Hunt County line to have a regional wastewater to minimize all these that are going to be within a couple miles of each other?
I think it's a conversation we need to have with them, sure.
Okay. When could
We
that
just-
happen?
We just have it as they come up. Now, both of those MUDs, we know that one is put in for an application. We're kind of getting off topic a little bit, but one is put in for an application. The other one I expect is highly interested, although I haven't heard a timeline for.
I got it.
So,
Like the county line mud, they're gonna have their own. I mean, I think 4 of these want their own wastewater. And if, you know, it's,
All right.
okay.
So we're gonna move with this part, the bid on our wastewater treatment plant.
I'll make a motion, oh, sorry, are we done with this discussion?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the project and award the bid for the North Water Treatment Plant.
I'll second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 3-1. Congratulations, Kurt, you can retire. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. How long have you been waiting for that? Yeah, all right, we'll move to item K. Discuss, consider, and act on any items resulting from executive session. We don't have any, so we'll move to item L. Discuss, consider, and act regarding any requests by city council members for consideration of items to be put on the future agenda.
I think we had talked about what the drainage study.
want to see the drainage study? Sure.
Note down.
Is it? All right. Mayor's announcements. Early voting will start at City Hall on October 21st for the November 5th election. This includes the Josephine special election for 2 ballot measures for economic development initiatives. While the city may not advocate, okay, I don't need to read all that. November meeting will be held on Tuesday, November 12th, due to Veterans Day holiday on November 11th. Christmas in the Park will be held on December 14th from 2 to 6 p.m. Do we have any motions to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. All in favor?